Okay, so now let's go ahead. Let's go to other aspects of refund. First, no refund admissible if amount is less than 100 rupees. Boss, if refund amount is less than 100 rupees, you are not going to get the money. Second, documentary evidence to be furnished to prove that incidence of the amount or incidence of the duty or interest for which refund has been claimed is not passed on to any other person. Boss, if you say that you are eligible for refund, you need to submit documentary evidence. So what's written over here? Refund application should be accompanied by such documentary evidence or documentary or other evidence as applicant may furnish to establish that the amount of duty or interest in relation to which such refund is claimed was collected from or paid by him. I had paid and the burden is now shifted, and the incidence of duty or interest has not been passed to any other person. So I need to prove it that boss, I have paid the duty and you have collected the money from me and I have not shifted the burden to anybody else. Next, order of refund. Simple. Once it is proved that okay, this money does not belongs to the government, this excess money has been paid by the X person, as in by consumer, that money will go directly to consumer welfare fund. If you prove it that yeah, this money was paid by me, I am the person who actually born it, I am actually the person who got that burden on me, then you will get the money. Or else that money will go directly to the consumer welfare fund. So what is it over here? Order of refund. On receipt of such an application, if the assistant or deputy commissioner of customs is satisfied that the whole or any part of the duty or interest, if any, paid thereon, paid by the applicant is refundable, then he shall make an order accordingly, and the amount shall be credited to the consumer welfare fund. Am I clear? Am I clear? Fourth point mark important. Fourth point is important from exam point of view. What is fourth point? Circumstances when refund granted to assessee. That means this is like exception to doctrine of unjust enrichment. Exception to doctrine of unjust enrichment. Normally, doctrine of unjust enrichment states that the money will be transferred to consumer welfare fund because we assume it the burden is shifted. But there are few scenarios where the money will be granted to the assessee. The amount of custom duty along with interest, if any, paid thereon shall be paid to the applicant instead of being credited to the fund. In the below scenarios, the amount will be credited to the amount will be given to the applicant rather than transferring to the consumer welfare fund. First point. Refund to importer or exporter if duty incidence is not passed. If I am the importer, I have imported some goods, I have paid duty and the burden is yet not shifted. And then I come to know that I have paid excess duty. Then that money I will get as refund if I prove it that burden is not shifted. Am I clear? Am I clear? That if the importer or exporter has paid the duty and interest and has not passed on the incidence of such duty and interest to any other person, that person will get the duty refund. Second, imports made by an individual for personal use. See, when I have imported for my personal use, the question of forwarding or giving to somebody else does not come into picture. So when I have imported something for personal use, I have paid the duty, and after paying duty, I realize that I have paid excess duty. Then I will get the money back because department made the department very clear. This is the laptop, this is the PC, this is the car I have imported for my personal use. This is with me only. I have paid duty. I have paid in excess. You give me the refund back. Third, refund to buyer. Buyer means end consumer. If duty burden is not passed, suppose I am importer and I have sold it to the buyer, and then buyer realize that excess duty is paid. Am I clear? Then buyer can claim the refund provided he has not further passed on to somebody else. If the duty and interest has been borne by the buyer and is not passed on the insurance thereon to any other person. Fourth, refund of export duty. In case of refund is in respect of export duty as specified under section 26, which we will study later. Next, excess paid duty paid by the importer. The duty paid in excess by the importer before an order permitting clearance of goods for home consumption. Was we know that once importer needs to pay the duty, and after that only the department will give an order to the importer that they can clear the goods for home consumption. And before that order only, I realized that I have paid excess duty. Then the question of me passing on the burden, somebody else will not come only because the goods are still not in my hands. Am I clear? See what's written over here. The duty paid in excess by the importer before an order permitting clearance of goods for home consumption is made where such payment of duty is evident from the bill of entry in case of self-assessed bill of entry. I have myself submitted bill of entry, it was self-assessed, and then it's clearly evident that I have paid excess duty, or the duty actually payable is reflected in the reassessed bill of entry in case of reassessment. See what I did, we already studied in chapter 2 import procedure. Import procedure, I have first given a bill of entry which is self-assessed. If you find something wrong in that, you return it and I'll have to pay the difference amount. By chance in that you come to know that I have paid excess duty, and yet you have not given the order for clearing the goods for home consumption. So me passing on burden, somebody else is not in the picture only, because yet the goods are not in my hands. Until unless it's not in my hands, how can I pass into somebody else? Am I clear? Am I clear? So for this, refer question 3 below. But before that, let's see this question number 2. State briefly with reason to provision section 27 whether the principle of unjust enrichment apply in case of refund of excess duty paid on car imported for personal use. Boss, will the principle of unjust enrichment come over here? No. When I have imported for my use only, I have paid the duty. I won't pass on this burden to somebody else. This is my car. The refund will be given to me only. There is no unjust enrichment over here. Am I clear? So let me read the answer. The bar of unjust enrichment applies in case of refund of custom duty under section 27 of Custom Act. The principle of unjust enrichment will not apply to refund of duty on car imported for personal use. Am I clear? As clause B of the provisions of section 2 of section 27 of Custom provides that in case of import made by an individual for his personal use, the refund should not be credited to the consumer welfare fund, but it should be paid to the applicant. Am I clear? See, again I'm saying now, department has no issues. Department is not saying that I don't want to give the refund, but the problem is that department doesn't know to whom to give the refund, who has actually paid the tax from his pocket. But here, it is my car. I have imported for my use only. It's for my personal use only. I have paid the duty. The car is with me only. The burden I have that burden of paying the tax. The refund should come to me only. Why you want to give the money to consumer welfare fund? Am I clear? Can I go ahead? Okay. Next question. This next question pertains to this point. Which point? Excess duty paid by the importer, and which they come to know before getting an order for clearance for home consumption. Mr. N has over 3 consignment, 200, 400, 400 units. That is imported in total 1000 units of an article ZDP, which was valued 1150 per unit. The custom duty on the article has been assessed 250 per unit. That means on 1000 unit you have to pay 250 per unit. He had his profit margin of rupees 350 per unit and sells the article at 750 per unit. After 1 month of selling the entire consignment of article of ZDP, Mr. N found that there had been an error in payment of amount of duty, in which duty for the consignment of 200 units was paid as if it was 400 units. See, how many units he had? 1000 units. And 1000 units he has already sold. But instead of 1000 units, this person has paid for 1200 units. He assumed this to be 400. So he had to pay duty for 1000 units, but he has paid duty for 1200 units. And boss, how can I sell something which is not there with me? I can sell only 1000 units, but I paid for 1200. Okay, let's go ahead. Resulting in excess payment of duty. Mr. N files an application for refund for 50,000. How? 200 units and 250 per unit. Is the bar of unjust enrichment attracted? That means, will this 50,000 go to Mr. N or will this 50,000 go to Consumer Welfare Fund? Unjust enrichment means the amount will go to Consumer Welfare Fund, and exception to unjust enrichment means that this amount will go to the person who has paid the duty. Now, Mr. N's invoice shows that he collected duty for, see, when I have sold, I have sold 1000 unit for how much? 1750. Yes, I have everything. So my invoice would be of 1000 units. However, he paid duty on 200 items more. This payment in the normal course was made before the order permitting the clearance of goods. It was evident from the bill of entry that the amount paid was more than the amount of duty assessed. Thus, Mr. N's case falls within the exception to the unjust enrichment. He was able to refute the charge of unjust enrichment. Furthermore, Clause A of same subsection provides that doctrine of unjust enrichment will not apply to the refund of duty and interest, if any, paid on such duty if such amount is relatable to the duty and interest paid by the importer or exporter, if he had not passed on the incidence of such duty and interest to any other person. Mr. N's invoice will show how much duty he has collected from the consumer. Hence, he may be covered by this clause also to escape from the bar of unjust enrichment. Simple. He has paid for 1200 units. He has transferred or shifted the burden of only 1000 units to ensure 200 is paid from his pocket and the burden is still on him only. He is eligible for refund. Am I clear to you? Boss, this section, these points are really important as in when doctrine of unjust enrichment will not be applicable. That means exception to doctrine of unjust enrichment. Am I clear to you? Sure. Can I go ahead? Okay.